Welcome, everybody. We are here at AI for Humans. This is your guide to the wonderful and wild world of generative AI, all of the tools, news, and all the other fun stuff in the AI world. I'm here with Kevin Pereira. Kevin, how are you?
I'm well. You know that. We've been hanging out all morning.
But we're in the same place again, everybody. If you are listening to this, you're hearing a relatively normal show, except for my audio might be worse. Sorry about that. But we are together again in person. We are at an event that is at an undisclosed location. We will tell people about it maybe later on, but for right now, we're here, we're in person, and we're not going to punch each other. We've already made that deal.
And it's not that clandestine, by the way. There's no discussion of UAPs or Yetis. It is...
Sam Altman is not here. Let's just be clear. This is not that we are not at the Illuminati of the AI world.
That's
so
right.
We are in a much different sort of scenario.
But we're still excited to talk about all things and everything's AI with you. And we have quite a show. In fact, on the show today, a just released AI wearable is getting some rather inhumane treatment from journalists. Yeah. We're going to round up all the reviews. We're going to let you know how the company is handling the latest drama. And I guess we'll take a victory lap because we told everybody to avoid it.
Although the last time we talked about this is the Humane AI Pin, and it really did get crapped on this week. The last time we talked about it, we were like, hey, maybe it won't be so bad. Turns out it was just as bad as people thought, as we thought as well.
Surprise.
So yes, we're going to get into that.
Plus, Drake and Kendrick Lamar are battling. And no, these are not new AI chatbots. These are some world-famous hip-hopsmen. And they are, in fact, feuding, but artificial intelligence is involved, and we will let you know how.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's been a lot of confusion around what's AI, what's not AI. And this is the kind of thing we've been telling everybody out there. AI is going to make people not believe what they hear in this instance. So we'll talk about that.
All that plus an overview of Adobe's magical AI features for Premiere, a look at some powerful new music creation software that Gavin really did a deep dive on, and we will reveal how ELVIS might be coming for your favorite AI tools.
ELVIS has not left the building. He has actually gotten AI tools.
I'm sorry, what was it? That's a very long announcement to come over the loudspeaker. Can we say that? What was that again?
I'm sorry, we won't be saying it again. That is the only time we will hear it. Okay, well, okay. Before we start, there's a couple things. One, we want to let everybody know we're going to be having a branding update soon, which is very exciting. We have a new logo. We have some new fonts. All that's going to be coming down the next couple of weeks. We can't promise this next week, but we're very lucky that we had somebody who designed a new brand for us. You will be seeing a new look, AI for Humans. You'll still see our faces every once in a while, but you won't be seeing that in the main podcast logo, which is exciting.
AI for human heads. You got the scoop here. There's been a lot of clamor and a lot of chatter on the forums about our brand.
I want to let people know in case they're surprised. Like, what happened?
This is like telling the baby daddy's going to shave.
Also, as we do every week, please like and follow all of us, us two, like all of us, the two of us. If you go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, please leave us a 5-star review. We will read them at the end of the show. Actually, now that I realize this, I have not checked. I do think we have a couple to read at the end of the show, but we will get there. Every little bit you all do at home helps us. We love reacting to comments, interacting with comments. We've been threatening to do a mailbag episode, which we will do at some point soon. Would have been smart to do that for today, but what do you know? It's okay.
There's so much news, Gavin. We actually have to get into it.
Let's do it. It's time for the news.
News. It's the AI for Humans news.
A lot of big news this week. The biggest story that we saw come down was Adobe, which we all love Adobe. Adobe's Photoshop, Premiere Pro, all of their big creative services. Adobe released a video that had a lot of people talking, and it really surprised me because they're introducing both additional AI tools, including generative video AI tools into their video program, but they're going to be partnering with third-party AI services, including Sora, which was kind of surprising, I thought.
Yeah, very cool announcement video. The overview is that they showed off some cool AI features like video in painting, which would allow you to take a shot, select a section of it, and then tell the video Firefly model, hey, I want, in their example, I want the diamonds in this briefcase to be larger diamonds in the briefcase.
Larger, right?
They were.
The other thing they did, which was they eliminated a fuse box on the wall. And one of the cool things that's really awesome about this is it's able to select object by object. So you don't have to just lasso around it in a hard way. You can literally highlight over an object, and this object they highlight over as a fuse box. They say remove it, and they removed it from a video shot, which is a really useful tool if you're out there making film.
Yeah, a smart masking feature. My wife has been trying to do this with her wedding ring. She's been trying to delete the tiny fake little cubic zirconia that's there and telling the AI larger diamond.
Did it work?
Well, no, she doesn't have the latest Adobe. I keep telling her that.
You can buy that for her instead of a new ring.
Yeah, I'm too cheap. She's going to get MS Paint, and I'm going to put a sticky note over the toolbar and be like, honey, look, it's Adobe. But to your point earlier, the Sora, Runway, and Pika integration. Now, if you're a first-time listener to the podcast, you're like, what are those things? These are video generation models. There's 3 different ones. Sora by OpenAI, Runway by Runway ML, and Pika, which is Pika Labs, essentially. But they all allow you to generate video by using text and using artificial intelligence. And what Adobe is doing is integrating those models directly into Premiere Pro. So in their examples, it's a person looking longingly out a window, Gavin, and they whisper to the AI, generate a shot of the Tokyo skyline or of our protagonist driving the highways at night. And it does a pretty good job.
Couple of interesting things about the Sora implementation here. If you noticed when that happened, there were 3 different clips that showed up. We don't know how long they took, but that's a pretty cool thing. If you got 3 choices to pull from, each time, like being able to say, I like that one is a really awesome way to do this. I'm kind of surprised Adobe is now saying, we're just going to throw open the door, because Firefly is their main AI model. They're at Firefly 2 and they're working on Firefly Video. I'm surprised they're just going to say anybody use it, but Adobe's main business, we have to remember, is the tool set, right? Is the editing tool set, is Photoshop.
We'll sell our big hammer and you will go probably pay per nail, because that's something that they, it's obviously, it's early days for these tools. There's no indication on when we're going to get our hands on them, and especially no indication of how much they're going to cost. Like, are you going to have separate subscriptions for each of these models and then plug them into Adobe? Are they going to try to roll that up into one new subscription tier where you pay Adobe and get a certain amount of generations? Completely unknown right now, but cool that they're doing it. And it does help distract a little bit from the wrist slapping that Adobe got by some a couple weeks ago.
So the funniest thing is, this weird story is Adobe's Firefly was always, the idea was, we're going to create an AI image model from stock footage we own. You know that you can use this. It is legal. It is possible to use this.
We're artist and creator centric. We would never take artificial generation or someone else's work and sweep it into our data set.
It turns out part of their data set might have been MidJourney based, which we know the issues that have happened with MidJourney in the past, what they've got in their legal background. So maybe Kevin, there is no clean data set, but Firefly was supposed to be the clean one. And now we're in a situation where it might have been muddled as well.
Well, they're saying that creators were allowed to submit stills into their data program, and some people may have submit AI imagery and not labeled it. Adobe said that it's a small amount, about 5% of the images that were used by the tool were generated with other AI platforms. But yes, maybe all data is just dirty.
I think at this point, I keep hearing podcasts and people interviewed and say, like, look, it already happened. And unfortunately, that's kind of the situation we're in. We've talked about this 1,000 times this podcast. We always want to see artists get paid for people that are using their goods. Maybe there will be a Spotify model, which Kevin has mentioned. Maybe there'll be some future world where you could at least get like a $50 paycheck a month if your images are being used often to be trained on. But right now it is so weird because we just don't know.
Well, here's the other thing, Gav, is that every time a tool comes out, anytime there's a celebration of something in AI, the creatives get behind it and say, this is terrible. You're destroying our art. Here we have Adobe trumpeting several AI tools, which are going to remove some of the drudgery in editing, right? Deleting object, creating new shots where there weren't shots was something that they showed off, right? I don't see too many people crying foul over this. Is it because it's Adobe, and so these are tools that creatives are already using, and they're saying, oh, this is going to make my workflow faster, even though it's essentially the same technology that we've been talking about?
In part, why they're not showing a lot of anger towards this is that they are using it to adjust and work with footage that looks like it was shot in the real world. This is a little bit not yet, and there will be versions of this where, generated out of the blue footage. With Sora, you were generating from a text prompt. In this instance, what Adobe is showing is, hey, you can use these tools to manipulate footage that you've already shot and save yourself 5 to 10 hours of work. That's really useful to creatives. So I think that's true, but they're not showing off completely new generations.
I guess what they didn't say is, what's also useful? Not having to have a camera in the first place and pesky human actors in front of it. Let's generate that on the timeline because it's the same technology.
Which they can do, yes. All right, let's move on to our next story. We've talked a lot about this. The Humane AI Pin was a big promise. You don't have one. I don't have one. I have a lot, but I do not have an
Oh no, I can feel my wallet though, and it does have $700 in it, which is nice. Yes.
Smart. So the Humane AI Pin, the idea with this was it was a pin that you could touch and it would respond to you with an AI built in. It had a laser projector on your hand. All of this seemed very cool. The reviews of this product came out this week and they are bad. I mean, these are like astronomically bad. These are some of the worst reviews I've seen in a while. And I think my takeaway on this, most of the reviews are because they don't feel like the use case is that strong. Also, the tech was not great. So Kevin, what went wrong here with the AI Pin, do you think?
According to all the reviews, everything went wrong. There's not a single positive glowing review. The only shred of hope buried within the reviews are, this is a hint at the promise of the future.
Yes.
But as the tech exists today, though it's impressive, they got it into a small form factor, the battery seems to die quickly. It seems to overheat a lot because it's doing that wireless charging thing with a magnetic battery that sits behind your shirt. So it's overheating.
Swappable. It is a swappable battery.
And you will be managing that battery multiple times a day, apparently. It's slow. It requires a 20 some odd dollar a month connection to the cloud so that it can wirelessly handle all the AI.
There are no apps for it. So anything you want to do on it goes through the Humane app alone, but then you can't do stuff like call an Uber. You can't do stuff like call Spotify. In fact, Tidal is the official music partner. And if you don't have a Tidal account, you're kind of SOL. I want to shout out Marquez Brownlee's review of this, which I'm a big fan. We're both fans of Marquez. Marquez really got a lot of crap for how negative this review was. And if you watch the review, he really did spend like the first third or half of it almost like talking about the cool factor. Like from a production standpoint, this little thing is really interesting and it's well made and all this other stuff. But then he really also went into how this thing isn't doing what it's promised to do. And that is the ultimate.
Yeah, the title of the video was
the
worst product I've ever reviewed.
Right. For now, he said.
For now, of course. But that seems to be where the division is, I think, in a lot of the audience, is that some people are saying, Marquez, you have a platform, you have a, quote, responsibility. You could single-handedly sink a company like Fisker with the automotive manufacturer, which he did a couple weeks ago, or Humane here. But the division in the audience is like, should you be saying is it actually the worst product ever? Or are you saying that to get people to click in?
I don't know. It's a good question, right? Because it is right now it is an absolute failure of a product, right? And I think that is something that, a normal company probably wouldn't release this. There is an argument people have said online that a startup should be allowed to throw out products and fail. This, I will say, $700, $30 a month. The videos of this that came out originally were promising that this was going to be, the guy was a former Apple engineer, iPhone engineer. You would expect something to come out at a much higher level. I think what happened with this is they just got too far over their skis. They promised a lot. And I am not convinced that voice in public is the standard we should be shooting for. Because I think as much as we love voice-to-voice AI models, they're great. There's a lot of work that goes into, hey, tell me this, or hey, tell me that. It has to be simpler. It has to be quieter. Maybe it'll be when we get brain interfaces and like we can just think the thing.
Right. Well, then we don't need microphones.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But like, I don't know if it feels like we're in this weird, like in between moment. I feel like.
By the way, I don't know how you side on the Marquez of it all. Like, I think he was justified for saying that as the YouTube title because he also says it in the video itself. It's not like he went with that later to get the clicks in. But he released a short little snippet that has him using the Humane Pin, tapping it, saying, what am I looking at? Or what is this? And while he's waiting for that request to go to the cloud, to have the image analyzed, he takes out his phone, snaps a photo of the Cybertruck that he's staring at, and gets the answer instantaneously with a smart device. And that is going to be the hurdle that all of these tech startups have to leap with their hardware. You've got to beat the thing that we all have in our pockets already.
And I think speed is a big part of it, right? Because like one of the things last week or week before last, we did Humane AI, which was the back and forth with the emotional vocal AI. What was cool about that is it was responding really quickly. When something goes to the cloud, has to call the cloud, come back down, it just may not be the right response time right now. Now we're going to get better and faster. So that will improve. But we are so far, I feel like right now from this product being good as it is, like you're probably 3 to 4 generations away from something that I would want.
I think so. Now there's another company, they were responsible for a program called Rewind, which was a piece of software you could run locally on your computer. It would gather all of your data securely, privately, and let you go back and search for things, search your PDFs, find tickets and emails. And now they've sort of rebranded as a product called Limitless. And it is a foldable little lapel
magnetic pendant.
Yeah, it's like a little pendant that basically just listens and transcribes all of the things that you say. Now, there's some privacy controls built into that, but they're going a different route with it, Gavin. They're going $99. It can sync to your devices later through, I think, Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. But the idea being that you're just going to gather so much data with this pin. It's not for the, hey, where am I standing? What am I looking at? What am I doing? This is just to gather all your data and give you summaries on your day and help you with your reminders.
And that seems like $100 for a wearable. That's really to just remember stuff for you. Mm-hmm. That's something I could see working right now because you're not trying to interact with it. You're going to go back later and see what you can do, what you did during the course of the day. That feels like a use case of an AI wearable. That's really good. Right now, I will say they look a little goofy because it's like you wear them around your neck like a gold medallion from the 70s, right? They have different colors and have to be gold, but like it's going to be interesting to see, like, are people going to start walking around with this?
I want a smart bolo. Give me a big chunk of turquoise right here, right?
We should make that product. We should make Limitless in the bolo form.
That's right.
That's incredible.
Westworld X Limitless special collab.
We're gonna move. Soon. We're gonna move to Mexico. We'll be in Santa Fe, and we'll start a little business. That'll be nice. That's our future. The two of us are gonna retire together. I think you should check it out. It's called Limitless.
Limitless, yeah.
What did they say when it's coming out?
I think it starts shipping in August. And again, $99, no subscription fee, which is great. And the battery lasts for 100 hours or something.
Which is what you need, really.
It's what you need and want from it.
Like, you have the Apple Watch, right? I remember when the Apple Watch first came out and you had to charge up more than once a day. God, it was unbelievable. It was just useless. And then what you want as a wearable is that you just put it on, you forget about it.
We're going to move on, but we want Humane to do well. Yes, we want wearables to do well, but you probably got to run your AI locally. You got to run it on device or else it's just going to take too long to be useful.
Not a great time for Rabbit. We'll say that. Like, it'll be interesting to see. Now, Rabbit, I've always loved because that is a cooler looking device. Sure. It's kind of a fun and gadgety thing. And it's only $200, I think, right?
Versus no subscription fee, at least supposedly.
So we'll see. Those are going to be shipping sometime soon. So we'll see what comes out with those.
You know, it'd be great. Rabbit comes out, starts to get a little mind share, little market share. Then they use the onboard AI to write diss tracks. And you got Rabbit X Humane because apparently, Gavin, AI rap tracks and diss battles are all the rage.
All right, so let's dive into the story. This is a pretty big mainstream story, and we want to talk about it here because there's a really significant AI angle. If you're not familiar with the hip-hop world, there's been some beef going on between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, Future, and also J. Cole. These are all big rappers. If you're not a hip-hop fan, you probably have still heard of them. There's a song that came out where Kendrick and J. Cole, and please, hip hop heads, please don't kill me if I'm absolutely wrong. Kendrick and J. Cole both had done some sort of a diss against Drake on a song. A song came out a couple days ago, randomly appeared on the internet. That was Drake clapping back, meaning that he was coming back at these guys, some pretty significant, talking in the world of hip hop, had some things to say. No one really knew whether this was AI or not, because remember, the biggest AI song to date was Ghost Rider's Drake and the Weeknd track that really in the beginning, everybody thought was in part real, at least the Drake part. Now Drake, this track comes out, everybody's confused, they're not sure what it is. Drake has gone on Instagram and acknowledged something. And when I say he acknowledged something, he put up a picture of Uma Thurman from Kill Bill, which is that whole movie is about revenge, right? So he's coming out. So we assume that is a real track now. I think as of right now, it has not been confirmed fully. But then what happened was a Kendrick Lamar track came out afterwards, supposedly coming back at Drake. And that has been proven to be AI. And it confused a lot of people. And the reason I want to talk about this story is we've talked about on this podcast many, many times how in the future, you're not going to know what's true or what's not. And we always think, it'll be easy to tell. This is a perfect example in the mainstream of mass confusion, right? Sure. No one really knows who did what. And we're not sure. Now, the Kendrick song supposedly is not as good as what Kendrick would normally do. So people call that out as AI pretty quickly. The Drake song was pretty good. So people thought it might have been real. And it turns out it might have been real. But there was a lot of back and forth on both sides.
The whole thing is dumb. The whole thing is silly. And I'll tell you what, I wrote a mean song about you. We've been doing that for decades. Let's up the game. Like, release a diss Roblox world. Why don't you craft a metaverse? Give me a Minecraft mod.
You go into
to crap on Kendrick.
Fortnite.
Yes. Yes.
And it's little short rappers all over.
Sure.
And you're giant in the Fortnite world.
Yeah, and you stomp on people. Yeah, give me some UGC. Give me some unlockable cosmetics if I hang out for your meta diss.
I will say,
Up it.
the fact that Drake shouted out how short Kendrick is, I felt bad. With short kings out there, we love you. We're sorry. People should not be making fun of people for being 5'7". I don't think that's fair in general. So
I just think let's get something more exciting than just an MP3 file. But
again, and this is just a question of like, it's a point of how AI is affecting not just the nerds in the AI space, but the overall world at large.
and because of friggin' Elvis,
Yeah.
we might not even get to enjoy AI fakes anymore because of friggin' Elvis.
That's right. So Tennessee is the first state in America to pass a law that is against AI cloning, basically. And it's called the ELVIS Act, which is Ensuring Likeness, Voice, and Image Security Act. And it's called Elvis because it's from Memphis, which is where Elvis is from. And the idea here is this is a state trying to get ahead of the idea of this AI voice thing. Obviously, Tennessee is also where Nashville is, right? Where the country western music world exists and kind of is born from. I think you're going to see a lot more of these things come on a local level. Some people say that this is not defined well enough. And I think we're going to have to see what does federal law versus state law look like in this instance. But
Well, here's the part. Can I get into the murky water part? Because it's one thing to say, hey, you can't clone a voice. Even if you're doing a close impersonation of it, that's not allowed. Here's the part where it gets murky. It, quote, creates liability for anyone who makes available tools whose primary purpose is replicating an individual's voice or image without authorization. That's a handful of words that paint a very, very broad target on a bunch of different websites, a bunch of different tools, a bunch of different things that already exist today who just allow you to create things. But who's to argue that the primary purpose is or isn't to clone somebody?
this is where we go again with AI law. It's going to be really hard because people are going to be making these laws that have no idea really how these tools are used. They just see the end product in the bad, right? What's the worst version of how this could come out? And then you back the law up against that. And suddenly you might have things that feel like they should be fine and they're not anymore.
Yeah, there's going to be a really weird set of First Amendment arguments with stuff like this. Could this law apply to stuff that already exists, that has already been released? If so, get ready for a bunch of tools and services to get taken
11
down.
Labs is going to have a really hard time with this kind of law because 11 Labs allows you to clone anybody right now, conceivably, right? Now, I don't know what their EULA says or what their laws say inside, but like, I can take any audio and clone any audio within 11 Labs right now, and that might change.
You know, fun fact, someone recently had an issue with their 11 Labs account because maybe someone cloned a pop star, let's say Taylor Swift, for their AI podcast.
Wow, really?
And got hit with an audio fingerprinting issue and was told to submit additional proof. The original voice had to be reading a special consent paragraph.
Oh, wow, that's new. That's
Certainly is new, Gavin.
so they wouldn't allow you to use that.
Wouldn't allow somebody to use the model that they cloned of Taylor Swift for a speaking engagement that they were doing in a clandestine Floridian location.
Somebody could not use that. That's true. Okay, before we go away from the news, there's one last very dumb story, and I feel very sad. Pour one out for the Geek Squad. Best Buy has said that they are laying off people, including Geek Squad members, and replacing them with AI. One thing people talk a lot about with jobs right now is like, supposedly there's all these jobs out there and yet a lot of people we know are not working and it's a kind of a big thing. I think what you're going to see over time is companies continually finding ways to use AI, whether it's going to be better or not. And in this instance, probably not better in the beginning, to narrow down their workforce. And that's just the world we're going to be living in.
In the long write-up about the fact that the Geek Squad is getting let go, it references several times that sales across the board at Best Buy are just down, right?
Yeah.
Geek Squad is there to support the products that they sell. Obviously, they can support other products, but primarily, you buy something, they try to upsell you a protection plan, right? So if your sales are down, it's not AI's fault necessarily that your sales are down. Are they trying to use AI to mask this, or are they trying to provide an additional service or something while using it as a cover-up?
Well, I will say this. The Geek Squad's main experience is you're there to help very inexperienced technical people through their technical journey, right? Now, sometimes Geek Squad does go to a home and set stuff up, but a lot of it is phone or a lot of it is like in-person question asking. Right. That is a pretty obvious replacement spot for chatbots, right? Now, this is what I was saying. They may not be nearly as good right now, but chatbots can do that in some form or another. Now, I don't know if they can help my mom figure out her file system on her Mac. I can't either. So thank God the Geek Squad is not gone yet. Let's just put it that way.
That chatbot's going to write a diss track and start slamming your mom.
No, please don't.
I'm telling you.
No.
Coming after him. Well, that's the news.
This week, we do not have an AI co-host. We are sorry. It is whenever we are on the road, it's a little bit trickier for us to do the back and forth.
Flight, hotel, it just doesn't amortize.
Soon we will have a team of 12 people that travel with us wherever we go who can set up our studio room ahead of time. But
so nice.
That's not right now. We're getting there soon.
I like, because like The Rock, when he flies anywhere, do you know, there's a separate plane
that brings his gym
and sets it up. I want that for AI. I want that for our podcast.
That'd be amazing if you could just go from hotel to hotel and set up all we need is probably a $50 million valuation.
Yeah, or 50 million more listeners. So make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it. But Gavin, every week you and I dive through various AI feeds, looking for gems that we can unearth and bring the audience. And sometimes a piece of content stops you in your tracks. It stops your scroll and it makes you say,
Hey, I see.
Hey, I see what you did there.
Sometimes you're scrolling without a care. Then suddenly you stop and shout. AI, see what you did there. AI, see what you did there.
There was an incredibly viral clip that I want to make sure the person that created it gets a shout out. If you've seen the Lil Yachty into almost everything else video, you'll see it on the YouTube video, but just
people are like, what? No, I saw a video of the Joker coming out on stage at a festival, dancing about.
Somebody took a Lil Yachty coming out on stage and they put the Joker on it, and then 1,000 other things happened. Elon, different
Conan
people.
O'Brien, my buddy Aaron did that.
Yeah, all sorts of different people. So what's cool about this is it was a meme template, became a thing. But there was a person named AI Warper who was the first person to post the actual video and showed what they did. And Kevin, this is using a tool that we talked about on the show. It's using Viggle. So if you remember, Viggle really specifically takes the image of something you see a video, allows you to take a single image and then marry it onto the video so that the video suddenly looks like the image itself. So in this instance, AI Warper, and it wasn't just that for this, there's a much longer detailed workflow that we will link in our show notes. But they used Viggle to take the Joker, a photo of the Joker, and then put it on Lil Yachty's body. And it's very fun because how often you get to see the Joker walk out at like a big festival performance. I do want to also say, if you are sharing people's videos on social media, please shout them out. Because one of the things that I find myself so annoyed by is that a video will take off, like this Joker video took off. So many AI people are just posting the video and saying, look at this incredible thing, looking for the engagement. Find the original video. It's there most of the time in the thing, the person that made it. Just at them, show them a little bit of love and make sure.
There was a time in the internet where like the e-bombs world, if you will, there were these sites that would just rip off video content.
People were mad.
Watermarks, and people get mad. Like, at least give me credit. We are so far away from that now where everybody just reposts everything. We got to get back to that. So name and shame the people who don't name and credit the originators. We're going to do that right now. A person by the name of John Finger posted a workflow that made me say, hey, I see what you did there.
See, you did. Fingers.
All the
fingers. John Finger.
John Finger posted a very
John Finger, Jane Finger, Paul Finger, George Finger.
Ringo finger. which is where your jewelry goes, on your Ringo finger. John Finger had a sketch to animated 3D model workflow that I really dug, and he shared how he made it, and it was very cool. If you check out the video, he sketched pieces of a robot in Procreate, which is like an iPad drawing tool. He then took that and transferred the style in Magnific, which is an AI up-resing tool. He then converted those 2D images to 3D using 3D AI Studio. He took performance capture with Move AI, which looks at a human body that's moving about and creates the motion from it, and then camera tracked everything together in Cinema 4D. And what you get, if you see the video version of this podcast, is John sort of standing there as a full 3D robot behind him is moving about, animated to his movements. That, again, he went from a sketch on an iPad and then using AI tools and techniques along the way, turned it into a fully motion-tracked, amazing-looking 3D model. And this is what we are always screaming about when we say, learn these tools and start adapting your own techniques, because there's not a single tool there that is going to replace an artist, but there is an artist there that is going to be made 1,000 times more productive because they're leveraging these tools.
That's right. And just a shout out again to Magnific, which I know we talked about early on. It's a paid tool, and a lot of people are like, that's so much money. But I just saw this one today, which is pretty cool. It's just a cool thing where you can take a sketch.
That's cool. Yeah.
You can take a sketch of something and then just suddenly bring it to life.
Whether it's a car or an architectural plan.
Yeah, exactly.
Character for a video game.
That's such a really cool way. If you're an artist who like wants to sketch something out and see what it might look like as a 3D model, or what it might look as a low poly model, style transfer, which you can do for free. And just to be clear, you can find ways to do this for free using Stable Diffusion, Comfy UI. Magnific is really a wrapper that allows you to do it much easier. But style transfer is such a powerful tool. It really can open the door to so many things that you can try.
Yeah, and the good news about 1,000 people like us trying to cover this stuff, if you have an interest in doing something like a style transfer, you want to sketch something and see it appear as a 3D object that isn't exactly what you sketch, you can search YouTube. Someone will have a long-form tutorial on how to do it, likely for free.
Well, that's what the AI Warper thing I called out earlier, that person actually shouted out somebody that did a YouTube tutorial of their process. And like, they actually linked to that specifically, which again, we'll link to in the show notes. That is such a cool thing, because when, again, we talked about Comfy UI last week with Curse Beats, but Comfy UI can look really scary. But if you can go step by step through a YouTube tutorial, which is how you and I both started this whole process, just watch a YouTube video and you can get through this stuff, which is very cool.
Udio. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I got a text from the 80s. Oh, it says it's time to talk about the dumb things we did with AI this week.
So we're going to talk about a couple things. I'm going to start off. We're going to talk about music AI stuff, because we've talked a lot about Suno. There was a big kind of explosion in the AI world this week when another Suno competitor came out. There's a little bit of debate here. Is it Udio or Udio? That's a question. It's spelled with a U, not Y-O-U. So U could be something Udio.
Right. But it's audio. Right, without the A. So is it is it what?
You threw me. Now I don't.
Audio? Yeah. How do you I don't know.
Maybe it's radio with a U minus RA.
Oh God.
Okay, sorry, we're diverging here. What Udio is essentially the exact same thing as Suno. Now, when it first came out, I think I was a little bit like, these guys fully look like they just lifted a lot of what Suno was doing.
Correct.
From the UI.
Also, maybe not their fault, but the early AI hype machine built this up. I mean, if you were on X or even on TikTok, even some Threads posts about this revolutionary new tool that was going to slam dunk Suno and it's going to upend music industry forever. It was unnecessarily, unrelentingly hyped days before it actually came out.
Now, I dug into it over this weekend, and there's some really interesting things about it that's separated from Suno. Now, I want to say Suno we've been using for now 6 months plus. It is very fun. V3 is as good as a music generation has got. I want to tell you kind of things that separate, and I'll kind of talk about what I did. Please. So the very first thing I noticed on Udio was that it was able to extend songs in a much cleaner, simpler way than Suno. Now, if you're not familiar with these services, please go try them. First of all, they're super easy and super fun. All you really have to do is say, I want a song about this thing, hit generate, and you get a song back about it, put a genre in. And if you're at all written songs before or tried to write little fun songs, you can make your own lyrics and it will generate to that. So with Suno, you can extend or you can make them longer, but it was never like the perfect scenario. With Udio, what I have found is it gives you a 30-second chunk when it comes out. And then you can extend it. And when you extend it, you get the exact same song music-wise. You can add lyrics, and then it attaches another chunk of time. And it actually gives you two choices to make sure that it turns out the one you like. But I was able to create a 2.5-minute song, which was not super doable on Suno in the first place.
No, your song was really coherent too. It really felt like it was all the same song throughout.
So we talked about what the song was. I'm a fan of like outlaw country from the 70s. I had seen a lot of big TikTok channels. But by the way, Obscurest Vinyl, which we talked about, right now has a song that is going like crazy viral on TikTok. To say this, I'm not sure what we have to bleep, if any of it. There's a song called I Glued My to My Again. If you're on TikTok and saw somebody responding to this or commenting on this, that is an AI song. So
or if you're on your family Facebook group and someone finally said, I feel seen.
It's exactly, it's a different one.
That's what they're talking about.
So anyway, I wanted to create a song, and I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about this, so just so nobody judged me, but I made a song that was basically about a guy who was in a bathroom without toilet paper, right? And so
You write what you know.
write what you know. You had,
When inspiration hits you, Gavin, I'm sure you immediately take the laptop off the counter. Yeah.
story. I got a little story about what happened.
It's done, the business, you know what I mean. The burrito was good and mostly all bean. But now I'm here sitting alone, wondering exactly how I get home. I can't
Do nothing.
the paper
Ain't here.
I need.
The wife.
Oh, where
Is it dear?
I can't
Do nothing.
the paper
Ain't here.
I need.
The wife.
Oh, where
Is it dear?
But so I wrote basically a verse and a chorus, right? And I wrote the verse and chorus and I put it into Udio, and there was a version of it that came out. So when I played it the first time, I was like, oh, that's very cool. And then I wrote another verse and a chorus and I put those in. And what's great about Udio is it just seamlessly continues the song.
Yeah.
So it does take a while really to get the right thing. Like any AI tool, I spent a lot of time going through this and trying to figure out how many generations. So it took me probably about 15 generations the first time to get the right sound, to get the right voice, to make sure it understood the words. I also then tried to do this with Suno. And I have to say, Udio had a slight better overall feeling to me music-wise than Suno. And this is no diss on Suno because I think they're really cool. But Udio,
You mean the actual fidelity of the audio, the quality? Yeah, but a lot of people are saying that. The tracks that are they feel like a 64 or 128K MP3 file. They're still a little tinny and washy, but at least with Udio, I think it's stereo and it's a little bit cleaner overall.
Exactly right. And another couple things that Udio does that's really interesting is it does do the voice stuff, which
The
Suno
comedy
doesn't do.
samples, the stand-up comedy samples, which came out, which are
A little bit of one of those here, maybe.
yeah, we have to.
You ever step on a Lego barefoot? It's like, congratulations. You just unlocked a new level of pain.
It really is astonishing. The extension feature that you're talking about is great for maintaining that coherence of a song. But what I really love is they posted an example of a quirky, campy, polka-ish song or strings orchestral fun. And then it's the same song, but it immediately transfers into this thrash, death metal, crazy electric guitar wall of noise.
And one of the best things I found on Udio, you may have heard this, is there's an incredible musical rendition of the Dune about Dune. And it's about Paul Atreides. And we'll play a little bit of that here. But this was like one of my favorite things because like that sounds like a recording at a Broadway show of some sort of like the 1969 version of the Paul Atreides song from Dune that never existed, right? That never existed.
Paul Atreides of Arakeen, the greatest leader we've ever seen. They say that he's the listenal guy.
You can play with it for free right now. I don't know how long these are going to be free in this way. I mean, obviously you can pay for more, and I did start generating and churning through my Suno and Udio credits this weekend. I can tell, okay, I'll have to see if I want to pay for this, but there's a lot of free credits when you first start.
I had a boys' trip to Joshua Tree this weekend, Gavin, and
I don't know if you want to talk about this.
I do. Well, I at least want to talk about using Suno because at first everybody was very confused and like, Kevin, please stop talking about AI. That's all you've done since you got here. I mean, yeah, and it's bad because it does permeate everything. But then I started just casually in the background making songs about whatever was happening in the moment.
Fun. That's awesome.
Getting lost on a hike or the playing with a Walmart toy that we got. Oh, by the way, tangent. Have you played with the little spheres that have the drone propeller inside of them?
No. What
So they're like $10.
Okay.
It's a single propeller from a drone that can kind of like it kind of self-balances, but not really. But it's inside of a throwable little sphere, and so you kind of throw it up into the air, but hold on to it, and the motor kicks in, and then you can float it to
Fun.
your
Oh,
friends
that's so
or do
cool.
big arcing shots or whatever. So we were a bunch of 40-plus-year-olds.
Doing this, throwing the
Yeah, in various states of sobriety, passing a Walmart toy around. But we wrote love ballads to the Walmart toy. So it's a fun thing to do that will now forever be memories for us. Having original songs to go with photos of us having a good time in Joshua Tree.
Actually a really interesting use
really
case
fun.
because people talk, I mean, I don't do this, but I know so many people in the world want to create these like kind of memory packages of things that happen. You can now create a song for the time you went to Orlando, or you can create a song for the time your buddy got dumped some night at a bar.
Cool.
What else did you do?
I played with CosXL, CosXL, and
That's not the Cos show, is it? The Cos? No. Good. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. Just making sure. It's different. That's a different show, different place.
CosXL is a stable diffusion wrapper, so it lets you manipulate imagery. You can also generate imagery from within it, but basically you just use text to edit a photo, and it's surprisingly good. In the car when I was playing with it on the way to our speaking engagement, I threw a photo of you in there, Gavin. I was like, what do we want to do with this? You said, give me a goatee. I did not expect it to give you a realistic goatee in the slightest bit, and it did. Yeah. And then I put a tiny sombrero on your head, and then I put you on the beach. And when I say I did all these things in the past, this might mean having to like use an in-painting tool and mask out a person or draw boxes around someone or something. This is just natural language editing, and it's an early form of it. Yeah. But this is going to be really powerful stuff when you can just have an image of your friends and say, hey, I want Mickey Mouse ears on that person, and let's change their shirt, and let's do this, let's do that. You're just using natural language. It's understanding what you want. It is editing the image, and it's giving you the final result all in the same app.
When this gets into the Apple, Google ecosystem, it will make an impact. In the same way that Suno and Udio are now making an impact because it's music, people can do this. That's exactly what people really want, is like, they don't want to go and necessarily learn how to in-paint and do all this other stuff. They want to put Mickey Mouse ears on their friend and be able to knock it out. And I think, again, this goes back to like, there's a lot of companies trying to do this, but the most powerful company would be is like Apple, to have a thing in your photo.
Hey Siri.
Exactly.
We all want cowboy hats. Boop, 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 done.
Yeah, and that's coming for sure. Like, not hard. Now, who owns the cowboy hats? I don't know. This is a question we'll have to figure out, Kevin. The cowboy hat industry might be very upset about it.
That's true.
It's time for our 5-star reviews. We are shouting out the people that have given us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. We have 2 new ones, Kevin, for this week. The first one is from Toddles123. Toddles, hi Toddles. The topic here is, here's your 5 stars. Now earn it.
Oh, my dad figured out how to leave a review. Okay, Pops, what do you want?
He says, the more popular the show gets, it seems you get less weird, and that's no good. Oh. Let the new listeners walk in blindly to a space cowboy all hopped up on the monster milk. If they don't like it, they don't belong here in the first place, but my bet says they will. So stay weird and bring back the monster milk.
I love a criticism that's been candy coated in a nice 5-star shellacking. Toddles?
He just knows this is a way to get our attention.
Well, it worked. We are here. You are seen. You are heard. And if you're wondering why there's not so much extra weirdness, at least in today's episode, it's because we are on location and we've been a little bit out of sorts as we travel about to do these things. But yes, more monster milk and more weirdness in 2024. You have our guarantee and our axe.
There was a song about no toilet paper, which is semi-weird, that you can go listen to. I think has some good moments in it, but not nearly weird enough.
No, Toddles has a point.
He has a point. Yeah. He has a point. Okay, next one is from Finnish Sandwiches. Finnish, like the country Finnish sandwiches.
Not like you left the crust on the plate.
Not unfinished.
Right.
Finnish. And it says cutting edge topics.
Oh.
I actually don't use Apple Podcasts. I listen from YouTube, nor do I use AI. Well, I'm curious to know what's
I don't know what I am doing here. How do I make these 2 men stop? My ears hurt.
But I downloaded Apple Podcasts and asked AI to help me write this review because I've become such a big fan.
Oh,
Apple, are you listening? Apple, are you listening?
Converted one. Did he use our promo code?
Probably not. Okay, so we have a long AI review here. Welcome to AI for Humans, where exclusive content meets groundbreaking insights. As a huge fan of the hosts, Kevin Pereira and Gavin Purcell, you'll be thrilled by their infectious chemistry that lights up every episode. Join them for behind-the-scenes access to thought-provoking discussions, expert analysis, unfiltered conversation, and the most pressing topics of our time.
I know it goes on. I leapt to the last line, which was, quote, originally I was going to write, I'm a huge fan. Cool show. But this sums it up better.
Thank you, Finnish Sandwiches. If you're in Finland, let us know where. Maybe we'll come visit at some point.
Oh, yeah, when we're on our speaking tour.
Exactly. We'll go worldwide. Have you heard about Finnish saunas? Do you know about these?
Bye, everyone.
No.